Billy Ray wrote an incredible script. It just felt to me like if Rod Serling were still here and still writing, that this is the kind of thing that he would have written. I knew it was something that, in the right hands, done, A+, it could be an incredibly intense and fun ride.
Billy Ray was a screenwriter we had long admired, and he had been thinking about World War II and the young men who were soldiers in World War II and how they had to accept an incredible amount of death around them as a commonplace occurrence, and he thought that that was a really rich and sort of unmined area for a genre film.
Boys, you keep worrying about dead bodies, you're gonna be one.
It's something that is thrilling with characters that you deeply care about and that surprises you every step along the way. That, just when you think you have a handle on it, manages to upend your expectations.
What the hell is this? Is it a dog, maybe?
Markel Smith came on to do some great work on it when Billy was busy with his TV show.
They sent me a really fun draft that Billy Ray had written, and it was such a cool world, and I just loved kind of the mix of genres that it was.
We were very lucky to work with Billy Ray and Markel Smith on this. They're really brilliant writers in many genres.
And it's always great to collaborate with anyone, but JJ especially. His brain works on a little different level, so he sees things that I would never find on my own.
It was actually in a conversation with Mark, the screenwriter, where I got to realize how this movie has evolved, and as it's gradually been revised and revised, it's become all about kind of developing this theme of the human side of war, and the monsters kind of serve as a sort of metaphor for that. And it's the theme of humanity plays against this kind of weird supernatural backdrop, which is, I think, really cool.
Ultimately, we got a script we were really excited about. Billy is a relentless writer and kept pushing and making it better and better.
On, off, on, off.
It looks better when it does that. Yes, good, I like it.
And then we were fortunate to find Julius Avery, who we brought on to direct it.
My grandfather was in the Second World War, and when I was a little boy, he had this amazing photo album of all his adventures, and he would sit me down, and I would sit on his knee, and he would show me these pictures. And even then, I kind of got that this was something much, much bigger than him, and I could feel the weight and the heaviness of the bigness. So sitting in my grandfather's lap and looking at these photos was the beginning of the journey, in the sense that ever since then, I'd wanted to make a war movie.
It's the bridge east of town, it's our rally point.
It's not recreation of history. It's not how it happened exactly. We're living in a bit of an alternate universe.
When we were casting this movie, I was reminded that the paratroopers in this movie would all be white if we were historically accurate.
We cast blind, and the main thing was, I just selfishly wanted to cast the best actors for the role.
Well, there might not have been black guys in this unit, but there also weren't zombie monsters that were being created under, churches either. And why should we be historically accurate about one thing if we're making a story up about, Nazi zombie monsters? So I thought, well, let's open it up to anyone, and we did, and we were incredibly lucky to find an amazing cast.
I love when we get to cast up-and-coming people and really give some rising stars a break. Obviously, the Ford and Boyce relationship was where we started, and since those guys were so critical and their relationship was so critical, we're really looking at them as a pair. We always kind of knew we wanted Wyatt Russell. He was someone that Julius and we had talked about for a long time, and we tested a few people for Boyce and sort of see what the chemistry would be with Ford, and Jovan just blew us away. You just care about him. You see his face, and you just feel like you could be him. You connect to him in a way that, is really rare, I think, in actors.
13 limit take 2. Is that what you always scribbling about? Jesus, Dawson. I didn't think a hick like you knew enough letters to make a sentence, much less a fucking book.
My mama writes up cookbooks for the church back home. I figured I'd try it out here.
We wanted to cast age appropriately. I mean, a lot of war movies that I've seen have 40-year-olds and guys in their late 30s playing roles that, in actual fact, were really young guys, like guys in their 20s, 19 sometimes, even younger when they lied about their age. So I wanted to cast a bunch of guys that felt like they were in their 20s, and that was a big win for me.
This is a very large project, and it's very ambitious, and Julius is the perfect director for it because he's, for lack of better terms, he has the balls to do it. From the first audition that I had with him, the exercises that we did in the audition room from that day, I knew that he was the director that I wanted to work with and that I wanted to, go through the fire with, so to speak.
To kind of take almost like B-movie concepts and turn them into something with like a bit of class and a bit of shine and make them really cinematic. Bad Robot as a company and J.J. Abrams as a dude, they do it best.
Our drop is 90 minutes out. It's definitely a feather in my cap. Curry! Curry! I have friends that are actors, and I like to think I was smooth about how I rubbed it in their face a little bit. I'm going off to London to work on a J.J. Abrams picture.
J.J. is creating these wonderful worlds with magic and mysticism, but also with love of history. I've been equating this a lot to Indiana Jones and things like that, because you have this very realistic world, but then this added bonus that only JJ can do.
Bad Robot is one of those companies you really want to work for because you know that it's going to be big, it's going to be entertaining, it's going to be great characters, it's going to be a great story, and the whole production team behind camera is some of the best in the world.
It involves a lot of research for me because I'm really interested in creating worlds that are very realistic, and even with a film like this, which has a fantasy element, I think it's important that it comes out of reality. So the process for me is always about solid research at the beginning.
The prep was quite short. We were thrown in the deep end pretty much to start with. So there's, 6 or 7 main sets of the film, but they were all needed to be fully designed and signed off on and off to the construction to be made within week 4. So that was a tricky thing.
Biggest challenge? Building this in 10 weeks was the biggest challenge, yeah.
The steel thing should not be there.
Julius has quite an impulsive way of working. He likes to sort of turn up into a set and feel it, and then ideas start to come on the day. So you have to kind of take that on board. We made a lot of models and we did a lot of concepts, and we tried to sort of portray as much as we could to him before he arrived. I think we've managed to do that quite well, and given that there've been lots of sort of, we've had actors ill and we've had sort of weather problems and all kinds of other things that have meant the schedule's chopping around, we've managed to stay sane, just about.
16 takes 6, B camera mark.
A lot of an actor's confidence comes in the fact that they're cool with their clothes, they're cool with their costume, they're cool with their shoes, and the last thing they want to do is be worrying about whether that's right. Anna Shepherd was amazing to work with. She's, I think, one of the best period costume designers in the world. She's done everything from Inglourious Basterds to Schindler's List, you name it. She did Band of Brothers. I was very into making sure the costumes felt authentic, real, lived in, and she stood there with me whilst I fussed over every stitch and was very supportive in making sure that I was happy with the authenticity, even right down to how patches were put on. Because the soldiers themselves put them on, they did it with different stitch and different techniques. Some were better than others, some were really bad at it, so it was messy. I had been obsessed with the paratroopers' helmets and how they looked, and one particular thing was the netting, the gauge of the netting. I was very particular on, and I said, I really love the netting, the gauge of in Save It Private Ryan. She said, oh, okay. That next morning, she had the actual netting that went on the paratroopers' helmets from Save It Private Ryan. I was so impressed and so thankful.
When you go in, you do a nice splash with your pen. I introduced the film to Freddie Joe. He's tough, he's really tough, but he just gets the best out of people, and making actors look like soldiers, making them look like the real deal.
They wanted the actors to be Army, act Army, look Army, paratroopers, so I agreed to sign on, and then basically flew out here on a Monday, and Tuesday started training.
He's a military man, and he's been in action, and he has that experience, and he was able to educate them about the harsh realities of armed combat.
There was really no hiding for them because I was on top of them 24/7. Every time they stepped out of line, I was right there to fix them the military way, which is not fun for some people.
He was really great at making us understand the reality of what we'll never know the reality, but the actor's understanding of what's it like to be in this situation and have to fight.